Please rename yourself with name, age, and city. Your age and your city, all right? For all student helper, can you make sure that your name is start with H hex for student helper? Any of you do not have what we call a private group, yellow group with student helper, can you make sure that you text me here, and then I will create a yellow group for you and assign a student helper for you, right? So please text me in Zoom chat now. Right. How many of you here already have the group? Anyone doesn't? So please raise your hand out private chat to me if you do not have a yellow group with student helper, all right? Anyone haven't got the group with your student helper? All right, so when you text to me, can you make sure you put me your name, your age, and your city, all right? Yeah. Student helper, please feel free to join one of the breakout room. Only student helper. And maybe Vanessa, teacher. Vanessa, you can also join into one of the breakout room, Vanessa.
Yes, sure. I will.
Feel free to join any of them.
How do you join breakout room?
Right now?
Only student helper.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Assign.
Now,
Speaker.
those raise your hand, you mean that you don't have the student helper yellow group? Is it correct? Okay. So can you text me your yellow number now? And then I will just randomly. Okay. Andrew. You said you have James, Kevin, and Andrew. That means you already have the group. Okay. All right. Sumi, can you text me in yellow so that I can add Max into your group? Or you have to tell me what's the SX number. Now everyone, let I see. I will copy the list of SX here. Right, so for everyone to look, and then you will, oh, your message is too long. Now let us, how do I see? Okay, I add into the yellow then. Maybe right. So maybe I copy every 10, all right? So this is the list of SH and their profile. So you can look at that now while waiting. So here's the rule. Later today, we will break out the room for according to the SH number and SH name. So make sure that you join the correct room so that you be able to practice debate with your student helper with SH.
Sorry, to clarify, today
So we got about 40 total or 45, but not all SX are here today, all right? Some of them will be in the evening class, the afternoon class at 2 o'clock, and some they can only join from 11 o'clock, not now. Yeah, now it's 10 o'clock. Right, so here's the name and the ID of the profile on the SX. Yeah. So the top 40, and then I will give you more for up to SX43. So I do have SX44 now. So SX44 is Emily.
Teacher, I don't find SH24.
SX43 is Max Trần Vũ Minh Hoàng. Oh, okay. Who is in breakout room with Max and Max is not in the room? Okay, I will add Max into your room, okay? Sophia, are you here? Sophia, I think Sophia is in the room.
sorry, Miss Duck.
Michael, you want to review
Hi.
what we studied last week?
Hi, Miss Duck.
Sophia, are you here?
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me, Miss Duck?
You.
Okay.
Sorry, Miss Duck. Could I trouble you to please read the messages? Yeah,
Me?
in the chat. Sorry,
In the yellow?
in yellow chat. Yes.
Okay.
In the meantime, hi everyone. Welcome back. Oh, sorry, one moment. Let me on my camera. Hi everyone. Welcome back to another workshop, the second workshop that is, of the NCSN debating tournament. And I'm really glad to have you guys joining us on this Sunday morning. And we'll be beginning really shortly. I just hope that you guys were able to attend last week's workshop as well, whether the morning session or the afternoon session, and we're able to, learn a bit more about the purpose of debate as well as the different formats of debate. And maybe you also heard our student helpers discuss a little bit about, their debating journeys and what they've taken away from the experience of debating. So yes, we'll be beginning shortly. And today we will be talking about the structure of a debate as well various roles that are present in a debate. So we'll begin in about a couple of minutes. In the meantime, you guys can go grab a cup of water or, just settle down and get some note paper and stationery so you can take notes.
Do you need one of us to help you share the screen, Sophia?
Yes, if possible.
Okay, Michael, would you be able to help, or you?
Ah,
If not, then I need the link. Oh, Michael helping. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate.
Sorry, yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. As previously mentioned, welcome to the second workshop of the NCSN Debating Tournament. And today we'll talk a bit more about the structure of a debate. Next slide, please. So we'll be exploring the essential components that make up basically every debate that you'll encounter. Next slide, please. A typical debate will consist of several key elements. Firstly, the introduction, which will be given by the moderator, then the substantive speeches by both sides, as well as rebuttals that will be within these substantive speeches. We'll also have the reply speeches prior to the adjudicator's adjudication and feedback. So let's explore each of these in more detail. Next slide, please. The key parts of a debate. Next slide, please. In this section, I will also cover the purpose of each part of a debate, as well as the time allocated to each of them. And of course, because understanding both of these is essential to understanding debate as a whole. Next slide, please. So firstly, the introduction. So the introduction is basically a short speech given by the moderator, and it sets the stage for the debate. So it will provide context for the debate and some key information. For example, the motion or topic of the debate, the teams and their members, as well as which debater is doing which role. Of course, the motion, as I mentioned, the adjudicators and their responsibilities, the moderator and their role, of course, and of course, the rules of procedure for this debate. That is to clarify, they'll clarify these rules for all members present, including the debaters, the adjudicators, and the audience. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this introduction is really straightforward. It sets the tone and will define the scope of the debate. So, all members participating will know what they're in for, whether they're a debater or an adjudicator. And of course, for the audience's sake, they will explain the rules of procedure. For example, some audiences might be unfamiliar with the rule of POIs, for example. So the moderator can clarify any questions they might have. And of course, as any good introduction must be, it must be able to capture the audience's attention and build anticipation. So that's, a moderator should be able to deliver an introduction that's able to keep and engage your interest. So it is brief. It lasts roughly 5 minutes at most, but it is crucial for framing the debate and for helping you to, understand the step-by-step process of this debate. Next slide, please. And now moving on to the substantive speeches. So the substantive speeches are really the core of the debate. They are what you think about when you think of debate. They are the speeches where teams present their cases, where teams offer arguments to support their stance, the reasons behind each of their arguments, evidence to support the claims that they make, and of course, most important of all, the impact or the significance of their arguments as it impacts various stakeholders that the motion will affect. Next slide, please. So really, you can see why the substantive speeches are the foundation of each team's case, because without them, you really wouldn't have any material to debate about in first place. So as a debater, you will expect you are expected to present your arguments, your evidence, and your reasoning, of course, to support your stance. So that would be supporting if you're a proposition, and or objecting or disproving if you are opposition with regards to the motion. So these substantive speeches are for the format of NCSN's tournament, 4 minutes per speaker, and it includes the speakers the first, second, and third speakers for your substantive speeches. Next slide, please. But of course, what would substantives be without rebuttals? Rebuttals play a very pivotal role in any debate because this is where debaters are able to scrutinize each other's arguments and challenge points or flaws that they might find. So in this phase, which is really quite flexible actually, debaters have to counter and critique their opponent's points and dissect their arguments to highlight those flaws and inadequacies for the adjudicators to see, and of course for the opponents to respond to subsequently. So some features of rebuttals is that really it's a self-allocated time slot. You are given 4 minutes to deliver your substantive speech, but you are typically expected to have allocated some amount of time in those 4 minutes to deliver your rebuttals. But of course, there are no rebuttals in first proposition because no opposing material has been presented yet, and neither can any rebuttals be presented in reply as per rules that will be outlined further during following workshops when we discuss speaker roles. And one thing to note about rebuttals is that they are more critical to opposition than proposition, because opposition's role really hinges on taking down proposition's points. So opposition speakers should really be allocating just as much, if not more time than proposition to their rebuttals. Next slide, please. So, of course, rebuttals are really the opportunity for you to challenge your opponent's arguments and disprove them and show them why they are flawed or inconsistent. So you can do this by presenting counter evidence or counter arguments to disprove their case. And this not only shows your critical thinking skills, also shows the adjudicator that you are not only able to present your own arguments, but in fact also defend against other people's arguments. And of course, in most debate tournaments, this would require quite an amount of thinking on the spot, because even for a prepared debate, you don't know what case the opposing team will run. So your rebuttals will really be crafted right as they deliver their substantives. And rebuttals are really those points of contention that will make or break you as a debater. Next slide, please. So we're moving closer to the end of the debate already. We're now at the reply speeches. And basically, these reply speeches are a platform for teams to summarize the debate, and most importantly, summarize the debate from their perspective, from your team's perspective. So you want to emphasize the key points of your case and also really weigh the debate as a whole to show how, why to emphasize why the adjudicator should give this debate to your team. So the reply speeches are given by the first or second speaker of each team just by the rules are given. And reply speeches are 2 minutes long for each speaker. And one notable thing about reply speeches is that side opposition will deliver their reply speech first, followed by proposition. So this is the reverse of typical substantive speeches, where you have first prop, then first op. In this case, you have op reply, then prop reply. Next slide, please. So the purpose of reply speeches, beyond just summarizing the debate from each team's point of view, is to highlight the clashes that were brought up in, the debate as a whole. So those clashes are like the main points of contention. They are the quote-unquote meat of the debate. And reply speeches are really strategic because if you use them well, this short 2-minute speech can be the difference between a win or a loss for your team. Because when you are able to weigh your arguments well, when you are able to show how your arguments are able to stand strong against the opponent's rebuttals and how you have been able to take down the opponent's case, then you will be able to sway the educator to give you the win. And so, of course, you need to really emphasize your team's position and show how you guys have been able to support this position consistently. So reply speeches are, I'll be very honest, often overlooked, but they play a really, really critical role in deciding the verdict of the debate. Okay, next slide, please. So that's quite a lot of content already, but now we'll be running quickly through a timeline. So this will help you guys in processing what will happen, if you were to join the NCSN tournament and participate. Next slide, please. So as mentioned in the previous workshop, we're using a modified version of the WSDC format. And the timeline roughly runs as follows. First, you have 5 minutes roughly for the moderator's introduction speech, followed by the first proposition speaker speech for 4 minutes. And then you have in between, every speaker will have 30 seconds to a minute of, just preparation time. This will be more flexible and will depend on how ready the following speaker will be. But it's up to the moderator's discretion. So this is mainly also because we are operating on an online platform, and we understand that, debaters might need some time to collect their thoughts, to, organize all the material that they need to be ready to deliver their speech. Especially since you guys are mostly still beginners and are still stepping into debate, we want to give you guys a bit less restriction, a bit less stress for, when you guys are prior to you guys delivering your speech. So next slide, please. So after the first opposition speaker speech, it will be second proposition. Next slide, please. Then second opposition, third proposition. And for the last substantive speech, next slide, please, it will be the third opposition. Then after this is most notable because even if we were operating on an in-person platform where we won't give you the 1 minute in between the speakers, we will be giving you a 2-minute reply speech preparation time. And this is very important because in especially in-person tournaments, this is the only point in time where reserve speakers can confer with the main speakers. So you only have 3 debaters from each team who are actually speaking in each round. But during this 2-minute reply speech preparation time, the extra speakers, usually up to 2 in a team of 5, will be able to confer with the 3 main speakers and basically pass them any material that they believe is pertinent enough to be brought up in the reply speech. Okay, so after that, the opposition team will deliver their reply speech, and to end the debate as a whole, the proposition team will deliver their reply speech. So following this, we'll have the judges deliberate. This can take anywhere between 5 minutes to maybe 20-25 minutes, depending on how much content that they have to cover and how much individual weighing they had to do. So this is really quite flexible, but 15 minutes is a good average. Yep. So during this time, the judges will enter another breakout room where they will be discussing. Well, they'll discuss, the verdict as well as the feedback that they want to cover. And of course, finally, they'll return to the main room. And I understand that some students are in the student helpers breakout rooms. Ms. Duck, could you please restrict the breakout rooms so that
I close the room, okay, or no?
No, don't close the room. Don't close the room. Don't close the room. Don't let the participants enter the breakout room.
I cannot, because unless I have to close the room and then, yeah.
I understand. Okay. Student helpers, please join the breakout rooms. And if you see any students in the student helpers rooms, you must remove them. You have co-host abilities. You must remove them from the breakout room. Okay? even if they already know what I'm covering, they okay, for all participants here, please follow the rules for this workshop. Oh, I
Oh, I
see.
have to close the room, then I have to
Oh.
close the room
No,
and then open again, no?
no, don't close the breakout rooms. It's okay. Just tell them to leave the room, even if all participants here, I'm really glad that you guys are listening closely. So if any of your friends are in the breakout rooms, you should remind them to return here, because even if they know the material that I'm covering, it is good for them to, be reminded of it, because ultimately this is a tournament aimed at making debate more accessible to newcomers to debate. And it's really important that everyone has the same, starting line. There's the whole principle of equity as opposed to equality. So yes, if you know anyone who is in a breakout room, remind them to return to the main room now. That is any participants other than student helpers. So, okay, back to the presentation. So the final part, of course, will be the judges delivering the verdict, as well as their oral adjudication, or put more simply, their feedback. So this will take anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. And, the feedback is really the most important part of the debate, in my opinion. And this brings the whole expected runtime to about just over an hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes. Yeah, so you can see that it's quite a long while, and you do need quite a lot of concentration as a debater for the first hour or so. So it's really, really intensive, and you need to have that sort of intellectual stamina to be able to keep up with both sides' cases, and be able to help your following speakers with their speeches even after you're done with yours. Okay? Okay, next slide, please. So now we take a look at the different roles in a debate, and the different people and job scopes involved in every debate. Next slide, please. So of course, we have the role of a moderator, which you would remember from me discussing the introduction speech of a debate. So the role of a moderator really is to guide participants in the debate. That is the debaters, the adjudicators, and of course the audience through the debate, because there are different debating formats and there are different rules of procedure for different debates. So it is really the job of the moderator to ensure that everyone understands these rules and are able to follow them strictly. And of course, they give the introduction speech, as I mentioned earlier. But beyond that, there will also be timekeeping for debaters. So they'll be ringing the bells at certain intervals to convey certain information, both to the debaters, the educators, and the audience as a whole. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, you can either send them into the chat first and I'll take a look later. Please don't spam the chat with unnecessary things. Stick to only relevant questions. But there'll be a Q&A segment very shortly. Yes, if you guys have questions, because once again, we are covering quite a fair amount of content. And especially for those who are new to debating, this will be a very helpful period of time where you guys can, clarify any concerns you might have. Right.
At the moment, I lock the chat to only send to you, yeah? Send to host and co-host, not everyone, okay?
Okay, thank you. So finally, the role of adjudicators is during the debate, they will be tracking the course of debate and, really analyzing each team's arguments and weighing them. So following the debate, during the deliberation, they will decide on the speaker scores of each debater. And they will decide the verdict as well as the best speaker for the debate as a whole. So the verdict is which side won, and the best speaker can be from either team. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the team that won. But the most important job of the educator, in my opinion, is when they give the oral adjudication as well as the speaker feedback or general feedback as a whole. to both teams. So this will happen at the very end of the debate. And at this point in time, typically most debaters will be very, very exhausted because they've just gone through like an hour of grueling thinking and rebutting and defending. So sometimes it's really hard to focus during oral education. That's why for NCSN, we're adopting this format where all educators will be typing out individual feedback for every speaker, and you guys will receive this in a document that will be emailed to you and your team. So yeah, this helps you guys in preparing for your future rounds. Okay, with this, we'll come to the end of the presentation for today. And now we've moved on to question and answer. You guys love this segment. Do you have any questions? Okay. I have a question from Ruby. She said she's not sure what role she is. Okay, so from what I understand, most people, actually nearly everyone who's participating in the workshop today will be participating as a debater if you decide to sign up, of course. And it is okay if you're not sure what speaker role you are yet. There will be later workshops where you can really study about each speaker and you can discuss with your teams to see, who will be able to do best in each speaker role. And one thing really important to note is that speaker roles aren't fixed. There are some that you'll be more familiar with, yes, but you should still be able to understand the job scope of every single speaker role because it helps you in helping your teammates. Do you guys have any other questions? You can raise your hand if you have any questions. Oh, okay. Tommy, you have a question? Okay, guess not. Well,
Unmute everyone, so you may have to unmute them when yeah. Okay, but now I allow them to unmute. Yeah.
Okay, Ken, hold on. Let me reply to those that were sent in the chat. Okay, so Michael asked, we must do the rebuttal to reject the opponent's opinion, then provide our own idea. Yes, that is usually what you will do as if you were a first opposition, second proposition, or second opposition. So you should be rebutting. You will have to find a balance between rebuttals as well as your substantives. So there are different ways to reject the opponent's opinion, as you say, and we will study that more in depth in later workshops. And then the part about providing an idea, that's about your substantives, and we'll cover that in the following workshop. So you have to find a balance between the two. You don't necessarily have to do all your rebuttals before doing all your substantives. You can find some way to organize it that makes most logical sense to you, or what you think would make most logical sense to the adjudicator. So Lisa next asked, can we present arguments more than 5 minutes? Okay, so that's not possible because your speeches are 4 minutes long. So you can't present arguments more than 5 minutes because you can only speak 4 minutes. So at most you could only present an argument for 4 minutes. But realistically speaking, you should be allocating at least 1 minute to other aspects of your speaker role. What is the top? Lily asked, what is the topic of the debate? Okay, we don't have a debate today, and the motion for the first round will not be released so soon yet because we haven't closed signups yet. So you will find out closer to the start. That is 1 week prior to the start of the tournament, the motion that you'll be debating. Okay, Alice asked, how much time do we need to spend for rebuttals? So this would really depend a lot on how much material was presented by the opponents, as well as your speaker role, as well as, how much time you can afford to spend on these rebuttals in the first place. So for example, if you were first opposition and first proposition didn't really say much, then you might only have, half a minute to 1 minute speaking on rebuttals because, there really isn't that much content for you to rebut. So you don't have a choice. But if you were, for example, a second opposition speaker who has a very big role in rebuttals because there have been two opposing speakers before you who have likely presented substantial content, then you would spend maybe half or more of your speech, so 2.5 minutes on rebuttals alone. And this would be similar for third speakers as well, who will spend maybe half, maybe slightly less of their speech on rebuttals. Okay, Stephen asked, do we need to talk slow or fast? So this actually goes back to what we talked about the previous lesson about style. So you don't have to talk slow or fast specifically. It depends on what you're talking about. So for example, if you are really emphasizing your point again, then you would talk slowly because you want to make sure that everyone can hear it clearly. But maybe if you have a bit too much content, then you might have to speed up when you are talking about, for example, your evidence, or maybe bring up an example. So it depends. The most important thing is to make sure that you are reading it, or you are speaking clearly, because you can speak really, really fast or really, really slow. But if you are not enunciating or pronouncing the words properly, then the adjudicator can't hear you. Okay, Lily asked, if your friend uses a lot of vocabulary that you don't understand, what do you do? So ideally, debating should be, it's kind of like a secondary level, that is a higher level sort of thinking. You must have a sort of basis for English present already. So ideally, this scenario won't happen. But if it does, what you can do is that you are allowed to use materials like a dictionary, like a book dictionary. So you can open up the dictionary and, check the vocabulary if you don't understand. Or you could discuss with your teammates, because there's a pretty high chance that at least one of you in your team will understand the vocabulary. And just a reminder for all participants, try not to use overly complicated language, because that's not really beneficial to your to the debate as a whole. You don't want to win because the other team wasn't able to understand your points. You want to win because your points were strong enough to stand against the opponent's rebuttals. Make sense? Because if the other debaters can't understand your vocabulary, there's a possibility that adjudicators can't understand it clearly either, or that your vocabulary is overcomplicating your speech, right? Okay, Anna asked, do you need to join the breakout rooms? Not yet. We'll join the breakout rooms later, and I will tell you guys when. Okay, Timmy asked, we are trying to be debate teachers. No, I want to emphasize that I am not running a course for you guys to become debate teachers. I emphasize again, we are not running a course for you to become debate teachers, and we are not opening adjudication signups to everyone. This is only for those who have prior experience and who can sign up later. The workshop is all for debaters, only for those, it's particularly helpful to those who will be participating in the tournament shortly, or who want to be introduced to debate as a debater, not a moderator, not an adjudicator, not a teacher, a debater, and a debater only. Okay, so just to emphasize, so that we're all on the same page here, this workshop is for debaters. Lisa asked, if we don't finish our preparation but it's already time, how can we say the complete arguments? Okay, because all of the rounds in NCSN are actually prepared motions. That is, you will be given the motion 1 week before the debate. You will have sufficient time to prepare your speeches. So you shouldn't be rushing your speech while while the previous speaker is speaking. You should have your content ready. And if you might need more time for rebuttals, I'll continue this really shortly. I'll just say today there are no debates today for the course of this. For all the workshops that we'll be hosting, we are not running practice debates for now until further notice. Okay, I am just introducing you guys to debate we are not running a debate because not everyone knows what different speaker roles are. Not everyone knows how to write a rebuttal. Not everyone knows how to write a substantive. So we are really starting from scratch and we are not jumping into a debate yet. Okay? So I'll go back. How can you say complete arguments? The most important thing is that when you are doing your preparation, you have all the bullet points ready. So you know the rough logic flow. Then when you are standing there and giving your speech, then you can connect them by adding 1 or 2 sentences. You think of them and then say them out. But if you aren't able to say the complete argument, that's honestly all right. It's better to give an argument that is, a bit iffy or like not completely written, not completely fleshed out, than to severely under time. So you are given 4 minutes to speak and you should really try to maximize those 4 minutes. So it's better to deliver material that is maybe 80% well done than to give no material at all. Okay? So Jason asked, what is the best feedback to give to the debaters? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I think every debater has different flaws or areas that they can improve on. So you will give feedback according to those flaws. But I think one common feedback, if that's what you're asking, that educators give for debates is that there's not enough engagement in between the two teams. That means that the teams are not responding to each other's arguments. They're not listening carefully and replying to what they actually say. And replying to the other side's replies to their arguments as well. So you need to imagine debate as a tennis game where you have to like hit the ball back and forth. If there's no engagement, it's like one side hitting the ball over and then the ball just bounces sadly away because the other team isn't hitting it back. So for you to have a good debate, you should be, under this tennis analogy, you should be hitting the ball back and forth continually. That means you raise a point, the other side rebuts, you reply to their rebuttal, they reply to your reply. Something like that. Okay? So Stephen asked, what do you do if you lost what you were saying? If you forget halfway what you're saying. The most important thing, you are allowed to use the script. So you should ideally have all your bullet points out. If you lose your train of thought, then you just glance at your script and use it to, regain your footing so that you know what's going on. So ideally try to, really revise your case so you are very, very clear on what you're doing and that you won't lose your train of thought halfway through. Okay, Ruby asked, how can you make strong evidence for your reasons? So, okay, I will cover this in later workshops, but essentially I'll say that evidence is not so important as the explanation of the evidence. So you can raise, for example, statistics, various numbers that say, for example, XXX number of people did Y. But more importantly, what you need to do is explain how that impacts your argument, how that is significant to your argument as a whole. Okay, student helpers, I'll repeat again, please join the breakout room. Only student helpers join the breakout room that corresponds to the role you are most familiar with. For example, if you are a student helper who, student helpers,
Yes.
please.
Someone named Sean invited us to this room.
Please go back to your breakout rooms. Yeah. Please don't leave your breakout rooms. And in the meantime, please prepare to share your experiences in your speaker roles with the participants. Okay?
Okay, now #, if you are a student helper, you need to put # in front of your name and put your code number, your # number, because John is helping me to go to the breakout room to invite the participant go back to the main room. Yeah, so John may not recognize the student helper if you don't put your # and you're not in the list. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Mr. Michael, you can stop sharing screen. Yeah, thank you. So if you guys have any other questions, do you guys have any other questions? Oh, Dennis asked if the judge gives feedback after debate. Yes, of course. That really is the most important role of the adjudicator, to give feedback. So at the end of each debate, after the judges have discussed with each other, which side they'll be giving the win to and what feedback they want to cover, the most important feedback that they want to cover, they will then deliver that feedback. And for the purpose of NCSN, in addition to the feedback that's given to in the debate room, after that, so after the judges come back to the debate room, they will then address the debaters, the audience, and the moderator as well as a whole in the debate room. They will speak about the debate and they'll talk about some general points that could be improved for both sides typically. Then after that, they will fill up a form to send in any individual feedback they have for each speaker. So for example, they might have to say ABC for first proposition and DEF for second opposition, for example. Then all of this feedback will be collated and sent to your team. Okay, it will be emailed to your team. So everyone will receive individual feedback. Okay, Tina asked, what's the maximum number of points can you get for feedback after a debate? Sorry, what do you mean for maximum number of points? You can send another message to clarify. Lisa asked, when do we debate? We are not debating yet. The actual debates that will take place are at the end of this workshop at around mid-October. Yes. Anna asked, if we don't know the rules, how do we debate? I have covered the rules in the previous workshop, and I will be covering more. I covered more rules today in today's workshop, and we'll cover more aspects of debate in the future workshops. If you missed any of the workshops, feel free to contact Ms. Duck for the recording, or you can ask for the materials that we use, the slides, and you can refer to them. If you have any questions, you can also direct them again to us, and we'll respond to you as soon as possible. Okay? Michael asked, can we ask something that the opponents say is unclear or not true? Does that count as rebuttal? Okay, your rebuttals should not be phrased as a question. They should be phrased as a sentence with a full stop or an exclamation mark if you want. But you can say that maybe they were contradicting themselves. Is that what you mean by unclear? Or you can say that what they said is simply not true. That counts as a rebuttal. For example, if they claim that let's take a stupid argument. For example, if they claim that all lemons are yellow, then they will then you might respond with a rebuttal that says, oh, that's not true. There are lemons that can be other colors. So that counts as a rebuttal. Any rebuttal is anything that attacks or opposes what the opponent has claimed. Okay, Stephen asked, do we need to have strong evidence? Once again, evidence is important, but more importantly is explaining that evidence. Tina asked, okay, when you get your score based on a style, content, and strategy. Okay, you will not be informed of your speaker score. We will not tell you your speaker score exactly. We won't tell you that you got, for example, you got 9 out of 10 for style. We won't tell you that. Instead, we'll tell you the specific things that you can improve on and how you can improve on them. Okay? So these speaker scores really are just for internal collation and for helping us to better decide which side has won. Okay, Lily asks, what if in your very important, if you have something else going on during your debate. So I think it's important that when you sign up for the tournament, you are able to deconflict yourself with other commitments that you have, because ultimately you choose to sign up for this tournament. So you should make sure that you have the time to participate in it. But if you are really, really occupied, then you should discuss with your team and see if someone else can deliver, can take over your speaker role. For example, if you have a team of 4, then the 4th person could take over your role, and then you might be absent for that round. So I think you should discuss with your team for that. Lisa asked, how do we debate? Good. I've covered that already. Listen more closely in future workshops. Lisa, we will not be debating today. Once again, you will debate during the tournament itself. I will only be teaching different aspects of debating. We will not be running a practice debate. I again say, this is not a practice debate. We are not running a practice debate because you are not ready to run a debate, especially for most beginners here.
Okay.
Didn't help it. Sorry, yes. Did someone say something? Okay. One of the student helpers asked when we'll be assigned to our teams. So I'm not quite sure what you mean. For those who are participating in the tournament, you will sign up as a team. Okay? Sign up as a team.
I mean that because when I see like in the file debate workshop, so I see that there was like the team name. So, and I just wondering, so like when will we get like assigned to like that team, and what do we do in that team? Like, do we like teach them how to debate better, or?
Oh, you're asking about your role as a shadow adjudicator, is it?
Sophia, can I answer the question?
Yeah.
You text to me. So what she's referring to now at the moment, I divide the class into a smaller group in yellow group. So each about 3 debaters, 3 students will be assisted by 1 student helper. So they can ask a question in the yellow group for the in that yellow group. So the new student helper, don't worry, you contact me and I will assign you the team. Okay, I will assign you 3 debaters for you to help. And for the debaters, for the student, if you need help, if you don't have the team, you don't have the group yet, feel free to also to contact me. Okay, yeah.
Okay, let me answer a few other questions. What? Okay, yeah, I will see your question. Okay, you don't have to send it 3 times into the chat. I will respond to it ultimately. Okay, I hope that you guys can give the respect and patience that I am affording you guys as well. Okay, so if you're running out of time and you've only covered most of your speech, then well, honestly, there's nothing you can do at this point. Just wrap up your speech. Try not to overtime, because if you speak over 4 minutes, there's no point anyway, because the bell has already rung. The moderator will be trying to stop you from speaking, and the adjudicators will just stop listening. They will not consider any content that you've brought up after your speaking time. So if you haven't covered all of your content, one thing that you can consider is passing on this content to your next speaker if possible. For example, if you only covered 80% of your rebuttals, then you could pass your other rebuttals to like your 3rd speaker, for example. But ideally, you should be timing yourself prior to the debate so that you are able to, you know, cover all the content, all of the most important content necessary. Please stop spamming the chat. Thank you. So you should also be timing yourself during the debate. You should be timing each of your speeches so that you know, okay, for example, if you're halfway through your speech, but it's already been 3 minutes, then you know, okay, I need to speed up or I need to cut out some parts. So you might also decide on the spot to cut out some parts, some less important parts if necessary. Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Actually, if you guys have any questions, feel free to raise your hand.
Sophia, just for my preparation,
Yeah.
do we break out a new rooms later, or just the participants just follow the breakout rooms that you have decided? at the beginning of the workshop.
Yeah, I'll brief them. Okay, so seeing that there are no more questions, I'll cover what will be happening during the second hour. So, there are 5 breakout rooms. You can see that labeled first speaker, second speaker, third speaker A, third speaker B, and reply speaker. So within each room are student helpers who are most familiar with these speaker roles. So you should try to visit all 4 rooms. You don't have to visit both the speaker rooms. You can just visit one of them. And don't join the breakout rooms yet, okay? Hold on first. Don't join the rooms yet. Stay in here for a moment. Let me just explain what will be happening. So the student helpers will share with you why they have chosen each of these speaker roles, as well as what their experiences debating in this role, as well as the nuances between the proposition and the opposition of this role. So you guys can ask them any question. There is no debate today. I hope everyone is on the same page that we will not be debating yet. We will not be debating yet. I want you guys to be able to cover all the content first and understand what debating is all about, the different roles. And that's really why we have the second part of the workshop as well, where the student helpers will be explaining to you what they do in their speaker roles. And then I'll cover it more in depth during later workshops. But I think with that, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. And you can now pick a breakout room to join. Try to join all of the rooms, first, second, third, and reply, all 4 of them. Listen in to the student helpers' sharings and feel free to ask them questions. But remember, be respectful, okay? Okay, you guys can join your rooms now. Thank you for listening and hope to see you guys soon.
Sophia, are you staying around visiting the room, or you
Yes, I will,
leave?
but I won't be speaking. I'll
Okay.
just be observing the student helpers. Okay.
Yeah, so they can join into the room now, the participant.
Yes.
And there will be only how many rooms that I have opened from the beginning of the class, yeah? Okay. Yeah. So those rooms that they may have a few student helper in each room.
They already do. I've told the
Yeah.
student helpers I've already briefed them. The student helpers should not be moving in between rooms. Only participants are moving. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, for the new
So-
student helper, do they know, if they don't know what to do, would you be able to brief them?
Are
Like
there
I
any-
can say one room for you to.
Are there any student helpers who don't know what to do? Please raise your hand. Student helpers who do not know what to do. Okay, there are no student helpers who don't know what to do. So I think they've all been briefed and they all understand their role. So they can now join the,
Like
Oh,
in
never
Phương Thảo, yeah.
I don't see any hands.
I saw one before.
I think they lowered their hand. I think they know now.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. Kelly, are you a student helper?
Yes.
Okay. Please rename yourself with SH. Okay, Ruby as well. All student helpers rename yourself with SH. Okay, I will explain again. But in future, please respond quickly to messages in the chat and be ready to join the call when necessary so that you can understand your job scope when I'm briefing the student helpers. So what you need to do is join the breakout room that most closely corresponds to the speaker role that you are most comfortable with. So for example, if you typically speak as a first speaker, then join the breakout room titled First Speaker. And in this breakout room, you will share about your experiences as a first speaker, why you chose to be a first speaker, as well as maybe some things you like, as well as some things you don't really like about being a first speaker. Okay? You can lower your hands once you understand.
Can we join now?
Yes.
Well, I don't really understand about we are like we choose a speaker number 1, 2, 3, or we already have that?
Oh, no. You will choose for yourself within your team.
Okay.
So you can go any of the speaker rooms right now to find out more about each speaker role. So you can decide which one, you might enjoy the role of best. But most importantly, you need to visit them all so you understand them all. Okay? Ruby, you can lower your hand. Are there any other questions? If not, I don't want to see anyone in this main room. I want everyone to be student helpers. Join a breakout room. Participants, join a breakout room too.
So Miss Sophia, so we're going to join the breakout rooms.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone join a breakout room. Student helpers, go to the speaker role you are best at. Participants, join any and visit them all. Okay? Please
So-
leave this main room and join the breakout room now.
Okay, Sophia, so we have, is it 6 room now? 5 or 6? I forgot.
5. Only be 5.
Okay, so first, second, third, and then third, and then they got 2 third, and then the reply. All right. Yeah. And the student, should they move between room during
Yes.
that 1 hour?
It's up to them. You don't need to tell them to move. When they want to move, they will move.
Okay, but they allowed to move, correct?
Yes.
But the student helper should stay in their room.
Can- I've already briefed them accordingly.
Mhm. Okay. All right, everyone, you understand? You need to go to the room, right? You can, if the first room too many person because everyone interested for that, then you may join another room, all right? And if, yeah, I think maybe I please join the room that is less people, okay?
It's always better to join a room with less people because less you have more space to ask your questions, to if you need to ask the student helpers to repeat anything. But yeah, please leave the main room and join a breakout room now. Okay? I don't want to see over 30 participants in this main room. You guys should be learning. You guys should join your breakout rooms and go find out more about each speaker role.
Okay, now I tell you the room that should be more people is third speaker A and reply speaker, okay? Yeah, so please join those 2 rooms.